Who says college football never changes? There are new rules abound. We're going to talk about why the 2-minute warning in college football is both good and bad. For Kirby, UGA, it's important. You need to know it. Next, Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. He, of course, is Clint. I am Daniel. This is your favorite Georgia Bulldogs podcast. We're here every day talking about the Dogs the way that you do. We're fans, and that's what this podcast is about. So thank you for being an everydayer if you're here every day. Thank you to FanDuel for bringing us today's episode. And thank you for making us your first listen. We appreciate that. We appreciate all the downloads, all the subscriptions, all the follows, all the retweets, all of the shares with your friends, all that stuff. Thank you so much. We don't say thank you enough, but we really do mean it. This podcast started out really dumb and really small, and now it is much larger and still dumb. So there's progress. Just like some would say there's progress in college football. What a pro transition that was, Clint. We are talking about new rules for 2024-25 season. Obviously, college football changed a little bit the previous year. They had new clock rules, running clock after, even on a first down, not stopping the clock except inside of 2 minutes after a first down. The rules were a bit confusing, a bit kind of muddled as to what it actually would do, what it wouldn't do, what it meant. This year's new rule changes, of which there are really two. I mean, you could say there's three, but we're going to kind of lump two of them together. One of them is the 2-minute warning. One of them is the technology in which coaches and players are allowed to use to communicate on the sidelines during the games. So we're going to talk today about the 2-minute warning. We're going to roughly explain what's going on, give our general thoughts on the 2-minute warning as a rule. What do we like about it? What do we not like about it? What are our overall impressions? And then specifically, we're going to get to Georgia in segments 2 and 3. We're going to talk about why the addition of the 2-minute warning is great news for the University of Georgia, specifically your team. Presumably, we know that a lot of you are not Georgia fans and you choose to listen to a Georgia podcast every single day, which is wonderful. And we welcome that. Why this good news for the University of Georgia? And then Alabama fans, you'll be more interested in the third segment when we talk about how the addition of the 2-minute warning is actually bad news for the University of Georgia. Two things, it turns out, can be true at the same time. And so let's start with this, Clint, the 2-minute warning. Most everyone listening to this is going to know what it is, but essentially in the final 2 minutes of the first half and the second half, so the second quarter, fourth quarter, the first stoppage of play inside of 2 minutes, there will be an automatic timeout. It won't cost any team a timeout, but it'll give teams a chance to huddle, teams a chance to talk. The NFL, of course, has been doing this for as long as I can remember. I'm sure they haven't been doing it forever, but they've been doing it for an awful long time. And as much as we wish that college football would maintain some autonomy from the NFL,
we do wish that.
We do wish that, but it seems few and far between. They'll find a way to take the atmospheres away from us. I'll tell you what, they are finding a way to take the atmospheres away from us. I'm going to go off on a soapbox right now.
Here we go.
The neutral site NFL stadium games, like the one Georgia is playing against in this season and played in 2 years ago against Clemson in Charlotte, that's, again, it's harmful for college football.
It's trash.
The beauty of college football is home field environments. One of the things I love about the 12-team playoff is that there will be home games.
Playoff game.
In the 12-team playoff format, and that is spectacular. As much as we wish college football would maintain some autonomy, it is slowly, it seems, morphing into the NFL, and the addition of the 2-minute warning is another example of that. What are your overall thoughts on the presence of the 2-minute warning? I have one major one, but I'm curious as to you have general thoughts, Clint.
Well, I think this is going to save a lot of stupid coaches from their idiot mistakes. Mario Cristobal, looking straight at you, homie. squarely at you.
Squarely, just
So everybody else in
squared
the
up.
room
You're
is
just
also looking. Eye contact is very key
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
This is going to stop a couple of coaches from time management. Early on in Kirby's career, he had this problem. It was a problem early on as a head coach. Time management was not his strong suit, and we were much maligned to talk about that. This is going to be a reminder. It's going to be an added bonus for coaches who are recruiting, who are tired, who don't have the staff that NFL does, who are more taking care of the offense or the defense and very involved in the play calling like that. This will be a nice little insurance policy and safety net for some of them, which I don't really like. Kirby has gotten great at time management now. It's also going to be interesting. I think this does change. We're going to get to have this affect UGA in the long run, but it does affect Kirby's game management before getting the ball and starting a drive at a certain hash, certain yardage is going to change drastically now. And I don't mean to overemphasize that or underemphasize it. It's just true. I think it does have ripple effects all the way down. Guys like Lincoln Riley now, instead of when he's starting to drive, you best believe there's 2:15 left on the clock. He's got a big old 20-yard dig somewhere in his playbook. He's airing that thing out, trying to get going. Because if you go ahead and make one of those, you're fine just setting up, holding back, not having to run up on the ball and stopping that. It stops pace of play for some faster teams as well, which they're not going to enjoy that. Daniel.
It's gonna be interesting to see how it affects tempo teams. Obviously, Georgia not necessarily known for its tempo. I'll tell you my just general thought on it, and this is probably just cynical Daniel coming out. So just in case you've missed him, here he is. It's just another dang commercial break that college football's figured out how to work into these games. And don't you think for 1 second it's about anything else?
It's not player safety.
Don't you think for 1 second that any of these new policies or rules are about anything else other than selling ad time and TV revenue share?
That's it.
Because that's all this 2-minute warning is. Now, teams still have their 3 timeouts, and you best believe they're going to be playing commercials during all 3 of them timeouts.
Well,
but now you get a 4th timeout in the first half and the second half, or I guess a 7th timeout in the first half and the second half. And so you're going to end up with just more stoppages of play, more commercial breaks, more time sitting in the stadium listening to bad music played over a bad sound system while you wait for M-dubs to get back with your water. Like that's essentially what you're going to be doing. He had one job, and it was to get me that water as quickly as possible. We're going to talk about in segment 2 why this is actually great news for the University of Georgia. We might not like it as an overall policy, but it's actually great news for your favorite football team. And we'll talk about why right after this.
But first, we love sports. We love them so much that we don't want them to stop. But as playoffs have been done, we get fewer games. Sports aren't sportsing like we want. FanDuel lets us keep the action going whenever we want. All we have to do is open the app, dream up any bets we want that we're in the mood for, and guess what? Boom, it's right there on our phone. Piece of
right there. You go bet on them Olympics, Clint? I mean, you don't think FanDuel is going to let you bet on them Olympics? Come on now. I'll be out there.
Come on.
I'll be out there.
FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Daniel, this does mean good things for UGA. I'll start us off by saying this. Let me tell you, Georgia fan, what to expect if you have close to a minute left in the half.
Okay.
And Kirby gets the ball. Okay. And this, I think it's going to extend. I think it's going to change now with the 2-minute warning. Close to a minute, somewhere in there. He starts off with a run. He's on his 25-yard line. He gets a kickoff or he gets a punt. He's on the 25 or the 30. He starts off with a run to see what kind of chunk play he can get. If it goes well, he will get back on the ball and he will say, let's go. Let's try to get it. If not, he will be content to run 2 more plays and run out the clock and go to halftime and regroup, get everything back in order, come on in the second half. I think for Georgia, this is a great thing because it gives Kirby has already had that system. It's natural for him. The 2-minute warning is only going to exit. So if he gets the ball at 2:15, 2:20, and he's on his 20, he's on his 25, it's built in right there. He doesn't have to think about wasting a timeout, using a timeout. He can go ahead and say, yeah, run the play. Let's see what we get. Let's see what kind of push. Let's see where we're at. And then I got 3 at my disposal. And I'll do it again. Now we're at 2nd and 3. Yeah. 2nd and 4.
Yeah.
He'll run a play again after coming out of the 2-minute warning. He doesn't have to throw it at the point. And all of a sudden it allows him the thing that he already likes doing. The 2-minute warning is built in for him. That's why it will help UGA.
Yeah. I don't want to overplay my hand here, but I think the 2-minute warning is actually mostly bad for Georgia. But the one notable area, and it is significant, that I see this as being a tremendous advantage for the University of Georgia is what happens, just speaking generally, what happens for a football team during a timeout?
Like, you rest. You're not playing.
That's right. Generally, who is given the ability to interact with who during
Coaches
a timeout?
And players interact.
You really get a mixing of
it's
the
a
coaching
relationship
and the players during a timeout. Now, who has, and I use no uncertain terms here,
no,
the best coaches out of any team in all of college football by a wide margin?
It's UGA.
That's us. So when our players get to interact with our coaches and other teams' players get to interact with other teams' coaches, we are getting a bigger benefit out of that time. Georgia gets a bigger benefit from a timeout than any other program in the country, simply because Georgia has better coaches than any other team in the country. And so if you give another timeout to this Georgia team, they are only going to get better. I'll say this. Carson Beck, this year specifically, you think giving Carson Beck an extra timeout, we're going to talk about this when we talk about the use of the iPads and stuff on the sideline. You think giving Carson Beck an extra timeout is not a bigger advantage than giving freshman stick figure kid from Tennessee an extra timeout? Like, you think that's the same?
You put respect.
I won't do it. I don't even know his name. I'll be totally honest with you. I can't remember it. You think that's the same? Nico. That sounds right.
I got you.
Nico Medvedev, famous tennis player, Russian tennis player. That's who it is. Go. He is now the quarterback at Tennessee.
They said you'd never use that knowledge, Daniel.
No, Nico Medvedev is going to come up again at some point. It's a bigger advantage for Georgia to have this extra timeout because Georgia has better coaches. And so Georgia's getting more out of that, 3-minute interaction on the sidelines, scheming wise, play call wise. You think if Georgia's on defense and the 2-minute warning doesn't come up, you don't think Glenn Schumann's over there making adjustments based on what he's seen in the drive, based on what it's like it's just another little halftime break, basically. It's an opportunity to reset, to regroup. That is the area to me that this is good news for Georgia. Everything else in my opinion, it actually hurts Georgia. And I'll explain why in the third segment. But that's the one area I see that it really helps Georgia.
Hey, we're going to come back after these and talk more of why it is a downside for your Bulldogs and Kirby Smart. But first, these. All right, Daniel, I went last time, talked about Kirby Smart and what he typically does going into a half. And you did point out the good thing that we have is that more interaction with world-class caliber coaches with players is a good thing. Tell us why it's a bad thing for Kirby Smart in Georgia. The 2-minute warning has been instituted.
I mean, I think I can sum it up in 3 words.
Okay.
And it's my favorite 3 words
This is interesting.
surrounding the entire Georgia football program.
Okay.
And those 3 words are Kirby Death March. The 2-minute warning is a shot across the bow of the Kirby Death March. It's not a fatal wound. I'm not going to make any political comparisons here. It's not a fatal wound, but it is shots fired at the Kirby Death March. And the Kirby Death March, as you may know, if you're an everydayer, part of the 199, as we like to call you, you may know that the Kirby Death March is it's near and dear to this podcast's heart. It is something that we
something I look forward to every single
that's right.
Saturday.
Best part of my day is coming in and seeing the Kirby Death March. I know
when the
that.
Death March happens, you crack open that bottle of whatever you enjoy, and you just start texting off people all manner of lunacy.
Oh man, the text thread gets weird. I will tell you that. When the Kirby Death March comes out, the text thread gets weird. 2-minute warning, Clint, hurts the Kirby Death March. And here's why. And this is the ultimate point. I start with the Kirby Death March. It's harder to run out the clock against teams with a 2-minute warning because it's an extra timeout. It's an extra play that you have to succeed on in order to bleed the clock and win the game. Which brings me to kind of the ultimate point on all this, which is the 2-minute warning was invented to favor the team that is losing the football game.
Correct.
That is point blank, like end of discussion, not an arguable point. The 2-minute warning favors the team that's losing. Go ahead, play it out in your mind.
Okay. If your objective is to win the game, and you are currently winning the game, and the only thing,
that's right.
The only thing stopping you from securing that W is just zeros on the board of the clock.
That's right.
I want to do everything I'm fine. Just let's play, guys. I'm fine. Let's keep going.
Let's just let her run. You understand? That's the point of the Kirby Death March. The team that's winning the game wants the game to end. The team that's losing the game wants the game to continue. That's the basic premise of competition, right? And so the 2-minute warning is created to provide another opportunity to stop the clock. Maybe you've mismanaged your timeouts because you're a bad coach. Kirby hasn't done that. Maybe you're a former Florida coach and you called all 3 of your timeouts early in the half because of alignment
because you
concerns.
Printed the wrong playbook and handed them out to offensive players.
Maybe that's the fate that's befallen you. But look, here's an extra timeout that we want to give you so that you can try to get back in this game and still have time to come back and win it.
Really, what I hear you saying is this is communism. What you are saying is the institution of the 2-minute warning.
I'm saying it wasn't a fatal wound. It was just a shot fired. Like, there's no reason to make any sort of political. There's no reason to turn what I'm trying to say political. That's all I'm trying to say. The 2-minute warning favors the team that's losing. And let's just call it what it is. Georgia's winning way more often than Georgia's losing.
Correct.
Which means the 2-minute warning is more often than not bad news for Georgia and good news for Georgia's opponent.
You are looking for mistakes. You're looking for weird bounces. You are looking for just more chances. And that's what the 2-minute warning does. If you are in favor of good football, of football that is hard fought, you are not looking for some random loophole in a rule to let you win by some stupid measure of non-competitive balance.
Let me tell you who you are. You're one of those people that's like, well, I was just hoping for a good game. I just like a good game. I mean, I was cheering for this team, but really more than anything, I was just hoping it would be a good game.
This is masqueraded, and again, it's a money grab, nothing more.
All it is.
And it's a money grab because the advertisers don't give 2 craps who wins the game. Okay.
No, do you know what the advertisers want?
Go ahead.
A good game. So that you keep watching, so that Joe Casual keeps watching all the way till the end. Do you
That's
know what I
exactly right.
want as a Georgia fan?
Wins.
A freaking blowout.
That's
And
what I want. I want
wanted to.
56 to nothing. I want TCU every single Saturday.
Every Saturday. I don't need any good games. TCU was a great game.
It was a
Oregon 2 years ago. Great game.
Loved
Loved
every
it.
moment.
Fantastic game. The 2-minute warning just creates more opportunities for the game to be competitive. And more often than not, Georgia fans, let's just call it what it is. We're winning, and so we want the game to just end. You're on the road trying to bleed the clock against Texas, and you got a 3-point lead, Clint. And you're trying to bleed the clock against Texas.
That just became so real, and I wasn't ready for it. I was not
Texas
prepared.
only has 2 timeouts.
Oh my gosh, because it's Sark, and he needed them because
he needed a
timeout
on offense. Yeah,
because Ewers wasn't doing the audible
yeah,
correctly.
Correct. Because Arch Manning wasn't in the right play call. And now all of a sudden, Georgia gets stopped on first down, and they don't have to take one of those timeouts because it's the 2-minute warning. Now they're going to be able to stop the clock 2 more times. They're going to get the ball with 1:43 left on the clock, Clint. Down 3.
I will say this, maybe a silver lining in all of this. We are no longer on CBS and Gary, who has another 30 seconds coming out of break and into break where he gets to ad lib.
That was we should have included that in the big picture. Yeah, the big picture takeaways. Yeah. If you're T's and P's, if you're a fan of the Big Ten, because you're gonna get, not only are you gonna get your fair share of Gus Johnson and the Big Nooner, but now you're also gonna get Gary in the afternoon slot.
Oh my gosh!
Good Lord in heaven, Big Ten fans! That 2-minute warning is going to be an exercise in torture endurance for you.
Restraint of not gouging your own eyeball out.
It's tough. It's a tough scene.
He is Daniel. I am Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs. Thanks for being an everyday listener. We appreciate you so much. We'll be back again next time talking about them Bulldogs because we love them so much, like fans do. We'll see you guys then.
See ya.